Hey, what's up, everybody? Steve here again from Scroll Rips. Wanted to take some time today for a different video talking about what's going on with PSA right now and some of the allegations going on around a submission where somebody had received um, nines on some cards that they submitted, and they ended up selling them back to PSA. And then, out of curiosity, the individual, I guess, looked them back up and saw them at a grade 10 all of a sudden. And so, wanted to talk about that and a little bit of what I perceive to be a conflict of interest. So, again, I'm Steve from Squirrel Rips here, owner, and still on the early part of this journey to establishing a Pokemon card business. But I thought this was an important thing to talk about, especially from a collector standpoint. In the card space, right? PSA is seen as one of the highest standards. So to have something like this happen that kind of undermines the integrity of the grading company, that's held in the highest regard, is concerning, right? So the first thing is, I don't think the buybacks have been happening very long, as far as what I could tell from looking up myself. That these buybacks are recent, right? So what would happen is you would submit your cards for grading, and then I guess PSA would finish that grading process and then make an offer to buy those cards from you immediately, right? That would make the process very easy on somebody selling. I don't know about any potential, incentives, or if that helps reduce kind of those costs that maybe if you're reselling through eBay and those fees that you have to pay. Um, but it's a lot easier, right? You don't have to then ship the card and all that kind of stuff, and make sure it doesn't get damaged and protect it and go through all that stress, or take time to list it. This, it gets you an immediate offer. You can sell it, and then boom, you're done, right? Easy money, theoretically. The problem I have with a grading company offering buybacks is potential for manipulation, and there's two fronts that I have concerns about as far as manipulation goes. The first would be manipulation of the grading process and its integrity in the first place, right? So, um, to be more specific, my concern would be with, okay, are they changing how they grade cards so that um, it only has a 9, and they're like, okay, well, we'll buy it back for this, and maybe they offer a little bit more than what nines are going for. And they do that because they see maybe potential for it to be regraded and given a 10. So manipulating it that way is really concerning, because maybe the card deserved a 10, and if it got a 10, this person wouldn't be considering selling it. Or just the fact that them making an offer at a 9 changes how much money the person would get, right? That's a huge deal. And we all know in the community, if you've collected, the large disparity between a grade 9 and a grade 10, particularly for modern cards. Cards from the modern sets, um, sometimes a grade 9, it can be even less than the card's value ungraded. So to grade something at a 9 makes a huge difference. So if somebody can, maybe they at least get the same offer as a raw card, then it's just easier for them to sell, right? They're kind of disappointed in the 9, but they're like, hey, okay, I can get in that. Well, then PSA goes and then regrades it to a 10, and then can put it out there and make a very large margin on that, right? So that's a big concern. I don't think a grading company should be buying back cards to be able to buy and sell from that standpoint, right? It puts a compromising light on the grades that they're giving out from the process. Are these legitimate grades? It could be even the other way. Maybe they grade it a 10 so that they can buy it, and then they give you a quick offer for it to make it easier on you selling, right? And so they can save a little bit money on that value, right? They give you an offer that's a little under the market value for the 10, but it's a quick sale. You don't have to handle shipping. You don't have to handle it at all. You don't have to wait to get the card back and potentially lose value, because we all know, especially if you're early on in a set release grading, the price or the value of the card can be really volatile. So you want to get it out there, sell it as soon as possible, and get the most for it that you can. So, I mean, that puts kind of a compromised position for individuals, right? That have that submission. If they were to elevate it to a 10, right? So then they can make margin. And the problem is PSA should be in the market of grading the cards. Grading the cards and buying and selling, it's just, you can't do both, because if, like I said, it creates this potential for manipulation, compromised integrity of the grading process, everything. So why would we invite that into the process? Okay. The second part of the manipulation that I'd be concerned with is the population numbers of cards in certain grades, right? So let's say a card's really low in the pop 10, so it makes it even more of a high value, increased value over a grade 9. Or, I'm just using 9 and 10s for example. But 10s obviously go for the highest value, and there usually is a big disparity between a 10 and a 9. So let's say they grade something, they grade it at a 9, even though it could have been borderline maybe. And then so they grade more of those cards at 9s with the intention of buying them back, regrading them, and then all of a sudden these cards now have a grade 10. Now they can hold on to a large portion of these, right? Because they have the resources as a large company to be able to buy all these cards. So then they could hold a large component of the grade 10 population, which could, that creates more value, right? Because if they hold on to more of it, they can kind of drive that price, right? There's more scarcity in the market, as long as there's still demand for that card. But they have those resources versus individual collectors like you and I. So they could be artificially increasing the population of 10s, or vice versa, right? The 9s, so that they can buy them back and then create the 10s. Or they could just be trying, if they're already holding a large number of cards in a certain population, they could change the way they're grading them, because they're trying to keep that population very exclusive, right? And they're holding on to it. So I just think it introduces too many instances, or too much potential for controversy. Like, why would we want to introduce things that could call into question PSA's grading, which we already know is inconsistent at best, right? So there's already a whole lot of consternation in the collecting world about PSA's consistency or lack thereof in what is an actual 10, or what's going to get a 9, or and so on, other grades. But when that's already in question, why would we introduce another component that could cause an increase in distrust of what they're doing there in their grading process, in their integrity? Because once you undermine that trust of the consumer, those who are submitting their cards for grading, once you undermine that, you've lost your brand, right? Your reputation's going downhill. So in my opinion, right, this alleged event that took place where they bought back these cards that graded a 9, all of a sudden they appear out on the market again, regraded at 10s. It causes a lot of concern to me, both as a collector and just somebody in the community, where graded cards like PSA being regarded as the highest standard, right? Why are we introducing a component with the buying of cards and then reselling? It's just not even needed. I mean, we all know they make a lot of money as it is with your regular submissions, and then the upcharges they already charge if they come in at higher grades, right? So, that leads me to even more concern that, if they're already going to grade it at a 10, they increase the charge on you because of that, right? And then they want to buy it back, but then potentially, because of making it, more convenient and easier for you, they buy it back for a little bit under market. So they've already made money on you on the grading, and then they've created a place to possibly make more margin than somebody else would, if you were to sell it at full market price. So it's just, there's too many things, and I think it's a huge conflict of interest for a card grading company to be buying back cards that they've graded, because when you control both the grading process and then a component of holding cards or holding portions of the market, it's very problematic, right? It's an inherent conflict of interest. So I don't know why they would do this. I understand potential to make money, but the problem is when you are grading stuff like that, when you essentially have the ability to create or reduce value of these cards because you control that grading process, you can't intermingle the two with buying and selling. You can't cross that kind of line, because once you do that, then it's like, what's their motivations behind grading things at 9s, or are they going to be more strict again, right? And then theoretically more strict, and so there's more 9s, and then all of a sudden they're regrading them and then putting them out there as 10s and creating a huge margin to gain. So it's just it's just concerning overall from a collector standpoint. And I thought it was an interesting topic that came up. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you want to drop a comment in the comment section below, let me know how you guys feel. Do you think it's smart of them? Do you think there's ways that they can possibly do that and maybe put in more boundaries or restrictions or something to try to add some more transparency where this could work, that they could do the buybacks as well as maintain the integrity and grading? Or do you guys think it's outright wrong, they shouldn't do it? Or do you totally disagree with me and think there's absolutely no problem at all with it? Just let me know in the comments. If you're not already, go ahead, hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. We're at scrowrips.com for the shop, and you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at scrowrips. Thanks for checking it out. Have a good one, guys.